We are at the beginning of a new era. What does that mean for a new agriculture? Above all, it means learning a lot of new things, following new approaches. Via the prophetic word, for almost 5 decades, the kingdom of God has been giving innumerable indications and help for all areas of life. This also applies to the new agriculture for the new era, an agriculture that is based on respect for the life in the soil, in the plants and animals. In the new agriculture for the new era, it is necessary to observe, to gain experience and to learn from it, aware that all life forms a great unity.
What lies here like a cloud of dust on the fields is the finest ground rock, and a refreshment for the field, primary rock dust.
Often it consists of diabase, often called dolerite or basalt, depending on the region. It always has a different composition, and the special thing is that this primary rock is very rich in various minerals and trace elements that are totally important for the field, for all the microorganisms that live in the soil, or for plants. Every year the fields give us new produce, whether it is grains, squash, onions or vegetables. And for this new agriculture that we are learning about, it's for us to say, what can we give back to the fields? And the primary rock dust is plant strengthening or a boost for the soil life, which also acts very slowly in the soil. This takes place over a longer period of time, so that the nutrients are then available to the plants. In addition to the rock dust, we also provide the fields with bran, for example. Bran, that is the husks of the individual kernels of grain, which are also very rich in silicon and is also very good for the soil. Then we collect leaves in the fall, which we then often mix together with the bran, with spelt husks, rock dust and bread drink. This makes a great mixture which we then simply spread on the fields. All this is nourishment for the soil life.
This is an agriculture without conventional fertilization, which works with natural means to strengthen the soil, giving something to the field instead of taking. Doesn't this approach revolutionize all known types of cultivation?
It is not a cultivation technique or some sort of guidelines made by some farming association in which crop sequences in fields should be cultivated. But first and foremost, it is that we learn again to establish a connection to the fields. The communication to make us aware that in everything that lives on the field is the power of God. And that accordingly we treat every flower, every little grass that grows in the field, the crops that grow in the fields, with respect and appreciation. And this has an effect on the way we deal with the fields. The basis for the whole thing is always the golden rule of life from Jesus of Nazareth, which is known proverbially, "Do not do to others what you do not want to be done to you." And that always helps us to consider everything we do in the fields and ask, is now the right time to work the field? For example, we learn to tell the fields the evening before what we are going to do the next day, how we are going to work the soil, whether we are going to mow a fallow field, etc. Because everything is alive and everything feels and senses just like we human beings do. And just as I tell the small child what I am planning to do the next day, what will happen, I can also tell the fields the evening before. The next day, the tractor is coming, get ready. And we have often had the experience that, for example, the microorganisms in the soil then retreat into deeper layers so that we don't do too much damage to them with the machines, with which we, of course, also work or have to work at this time. It is completely contrary to other forms of agribusiness or agriculture as we know it. These are completely different tips on how we can treat the fields. Therefore, a completely new kind of agriculture.
A new agriculture therefore means gaining a new perspective of the fields, of the soil, of the life. Pesticides, artificial fertilizers, as well as manure and slurry from livestock farming have no place in this kind of agriculture, as they only disturb the fine structure in the soil, impoverish the soil, or cause it to die completely, and that has fatal consequences.
Healthy soil is the basis for all life on Earth, not only for us human beings, also for the plants and, of course, for the animals as well, which also eat the fruits of the plants. And one should simply be aware that there are approximately 30 centimeters of fertile topsoil on which everything grows and thrives, and that these 30 centimeters of fertile topsoil are the result of several thousands of years in which the smallest living beings cement or build up small plant remains with rock particles. This is done primarily by the earthworms, and it was only through this process that this fertile soil developed, and therefore it is also clear that there is nothing more valuable for us, and accordingly we treat this soil with respect and appreciation, the soil from which we all live. So the primary rock dust is totally important for the earthworms because they digest these fine rock particles together with the clay or the sand, depending on the type of soil you have and various plant parts. And this creates a very stable, healthy topsoil which holds a lot of nutrients for the plants and also makes the soil viable and stable. The earthworm glues the parts together, so to speak. It's like a layer of honey that glues everything together. And that's why there are fields with healthy soil life and many, many earthworms, and there is no danger from erosion by wind and water for a long time, because there is this stable crumb structure.
Due to the many good experiences with the primary rock dust, all crops get this boost in the new agriculture. Whether in vegetable cultivation, the apple orchards, or in grain cultivation, every soil is glad for the gift of finely ground stone. Ideal is to apply it on the fallow fields like this one. The field, which has yielded grain for 2 years, is allowed to rest during the fallow year to regenerate and simply let grow what the soil produces on its own. And who doesn't know this? When you are in the process of regenerating, an extra boost comes exactly right.
So it is crucial that we find our way from taking, the farmer always harvests and receives from the field, into this giving bit by bit. And spreading primary rock flour is one of the greatest activities because as a farmer you come to the field and don't want anything from the field, and also don't work the soil and don't harvest and get something from the field, but because you simply give something to the field and all the many little helpers in the soil. And we do that several times a year. That was, for example, also a hint that we got from the Spirit of God, that you don't go to the field and apply as thick a layer as possible to the field, but rather apply it finely several times a year, so that the soil organisms can absorb it bit by bit.
The soil organisms, who are they exactly? It is by far not only the earthworms. Beetles, spiders, centipedes, and springtails are also part of it. And the many, many microorganisms, the fungi and soil bacteria, which make up about a quarter of the living organisms in the soil. They are like a person's intestinal flora, which helps keep the entire organism healthy.
You just have to realize that the whole life in the fields, in nature, that everything forms a great unity. And over the years, centuries, millennia, we have moved further and further away from this origin, from this unity. And for us, it is the task, especially for this new agriculture, that we as farmers again learn to find this unity in nature bit by bit. How we can gradually build up again this connection, this communication with the life in the fields.
In order to learn this connection and this communication with the fields and with the whole life on the fields, it's a great help if, for instance, we either turn off the tractor during the day at work and go quietly to the field or stand at the edge of the field. Of course, it's also really nice in the evening when everything is quieter, and then just watch. Just watch how the smallest creatures, the insects, for example, the bees, the bumblebees, pollinate the flowers at the edge of the field and busily collect nectar. How a small beetle is busy crawling up a stalk, or earthworms are trying to pull minced plant debris into a tube in the ground.
And then you realize that all these creatures all have their tasks. The whole forms a large unit, and just because they all help together, can anything grow at all on the fields? Can healthy plants and also healthy crops for the people thereby develop? This gives me great respect and also reverence for the life that is there in the fields, and then I cannot just race over the fields with a machine or simply carelessly mow away the flowers at the edge of the field. That is no longer possible, because we simply learn to respect and appreciate the life, and also to be grateful for the many helpers in the soil, because we do not always understand. Without them, there would be no fertile soil, and we would have no food, nothing to eat. So we have to say quite clearly that the farmers themselves can, at most, cultivate the fields. They can sow, or perhaps also take care of the fields. And I have to honestly say that they can make an effort with, especially with the machines that we use today in farming, to cause as little damage as possible. But the whole growth and flourishing of the plants, that is all due to the soil life. The elements, the wind, the rain, the sun, the stars, and in the end we have to say that the whole growth and flourishing is all in God's hand. Helping animals, saving lives. This is what the International Gabriele Foundations stand for. They develop habitats for free-living animals, oases of life. A peaceful land where the all-love of the Creator can be felt more and more. In their beauty and diversity, all life forms are God's creation. People with a heart for nature care and provide for animals in need. Thereby, they orient themselves to the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, particularly to the guiding principle, do to others as you would have them do to you.
All kinds of different animal species are cared for in the infirmary. Sick and injured animals get help here, as well as many orphaned young. Here they find a temporary place to stay until they are big and strong enough to be released into freedom.
Well, good morning, little squirrels.
The 3 little squirrels have only been here for a few days. They are orphans that were found in a state of total exhaustion. A room in the infirmary was fixed up for the lively friends, with plenty of places to climb and to hide. The smallest ones are still being bottle fed. A new guest already. For 3 weeks, the lively wild piglet was cared for by a family.
He came to us. A neighbor came to us. His boss was a hunter and shot wide while hunting, and unfortunately hit the mother. 2 other little ones or so must have fled into the woods, and this little guy stayed. So they took them with them. My neighbor came and said he wanted to butcher it.
He thought he could make a suckling pig of it because he's a butcher.
I took a good look at the animal. Well, its head was as small as a cat's, and you just can't kill something like that. Because it was only so big, it weighed perhaps, 2 kilograms, so we took it in. My wife then made a quick decision and said to the neighbor, "It's coming to us."
The host family of the little piglet then made their very own experiences.
Things went so far that it was soon lying on the sofa.
And so it simply grew into our family life.
Well, but then we wanted to provide a species-appropriate life for it, to look for some kind of sanctuary under. And then, thank goodness, we found our way here, where it can grow big like nature intended.
That the International Gabriele Foundation can take in foundlings like Schweini is solely due to having built the infirmary. To install such a place to take in animals in need had become unavoidable.
For one thing, we frequently found animals in the connective biotope system that needed help. And for another, people have come to us with little foundlings or injured animals, asking if we could help. And for this, of course, we needed appropriate rooms, and that's why we built this infirmary.
Such a facility needs to be well thought through. The rooms should be suitable for the use of various species, and they have to be bright and friendly.
The basic framework already existed, and then we separated the rooms with simple plywood walls, which we then insulated. An important aspect was also to have enough light in the rooms, so we added lots of windows so that the animals didn't have to get healthy in the dark. We wanted to set up nice rooms for the animals using simple means, and for instance, we took rectangular window panes and simply cut round openings in the plywood, and with that you already get a nice room which also has a nice design and style.
Newcomers like Schweini are checked for parasites, or possible illnesses right when they arrive. The veterinarian takes a stool sample.
So we now examine this under the microscope. I look first in an overview magnification. Very nice.
Fortunately, everything is fine with Schweini. Meanwhile, Katrin is busy caring for the other patients. Caruso, Ajay, and Kalito, the jackdaw, are hungry. Swan Sylvan lost his parents and feels very lonely. Daniel visits him regularly to keep him company. But in a few days, he will move to a special place for young swans so that the little swan can grow up with his own kind.
A good morning, Alwino.
This little patient also needs special care, a little field hare. Its mother was run over. It's been in the care of the infirmary for 3 weeks already. Katrin is bringing fresh herbs.
Well, Alvino is a wild hare, probably orphaned. Its mother couldn't be found, and so it came here and had to be bottle-fed. It's also gotten to know fresh plants and herbs, which later it will find for itself in its outdoor area and also in nature. It eats very well now and will soon be far enough along to be released into freedom.
The care of the fawn Milo is similarly successful. Daniel gives it a bottle 10 times a day, and it's also eating fresh plants with great relish.
Every year in early summer, several fawns are brought to us which have become orphaned. And it's a very intense and wonderful task to be able to care for these young animals, because particularly at the beginning, the connection to us caregivers is very intense. Every few hours they get their bottle of milk, and it's simply great to experience how these initially dependent young animals become more and more grown up and also independent. They then start eating their first plants and herbs, and every year it's a wonderful experience to be able to help them.
To help animals, to nurse and care for them is an all-round job. Preparing their food, keeping their areas clean, administering medications. When there are fawns to care for, this means the caregiver has to bottle feed them every 3 hours, also at night. What moves the caregiver to take on this task?
For me, it's very simply an ethical aspect. When I see that someone needs help, then it's given that I also help him, be it a human being or an animal or a plant. And Jesus of Nazareth essentially said, "What you do to the least of them, you have done to me." And so the help for the animals here in the infirmary is simply a very practical care, a responsibility for the animals, which are our fellow creatures.
So here comes Fanes. Now we'll have a look. That's good. This eye was really bad.
The clouding is gone, isn't it?
You can hardly see it anymore. Initially it was all clouded.
If an animal gets sick or needs special care, then it doesn't always have to go to the animal clinic, but can quickly receive help here, like, for instance, Fanes, a little owl that broke its wing. Veterinarian Hans-Jörg Schilly is happy about the equipment and setup of the infirmary.
Here in the infirmary, we have the ideal possibility for observing the animals. Due to the light-filled construction, we constantly have the animals in view and can immediately react when we notice something is wrong. We have all kinds of possibilities for treating them here. It's also good that we have the possibility to spend the night here, for instance, and to care for the animals during the night, be it medically or that they need their bottle. We have an appropriate table on which we can carry out small operations. We can do tests via the microscope, be it stool analysis, blood or urine tests. We have the appropriate medications here and bandaging material. We have all kinds of teas and herbs that we often use. And of course, we can also prepare the required foods because we have the cooking possibilities here.
Hans-Jörg Schilling also uses natural medications in the treatments. He prepares teas, salves, and tinctures from native medicinal plants.
We have a nice herbal spiral in the outside area where we can grow diverse herbs. These herbs are then harvested at the appropriate time.
Hares, wild pigs, squirrels, an injured owl, this calls for flexibility and also expert knowledge. The caregivers do everything they can to do justice to each individual animal that is entrusted to them, so that soon it can again lead an independent life in freedom.
I think that we human beings are too little aware that we are a part of nature, and especially the wild animals' habitats are very strongly impaired by us humans. We have destroyed a large part of their habitats, and by way of the infirmary, we can advance a kind of making amends. We can simply help these wonderful creatures.